everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor. Welcome to my channel as we are reviewing Ready to Love season 5 episode 9. This episode made me sad, but okay. let us do what we are called here to do. As I said, I was going to commit to reviewing this whole season. But before we get into it, of course, subscribe to my channel as we have great stuff going on. And let's do this. All right, so the episode 9, they're going to the retreat. Tommy announced that to the crew. So there's road trips, and it was interesting. I guess what the road trip or trip and them all being in one destination showed is like who's connecting with who, meaning, so it was really shocking to see Zadia riding with Cornelius and Camille. That was just interesting to see. That I know Cornelius had like touched on it before, that Zadia and Camille were in connection together, and so like he had a connection. He like was interested in her, but then didn't want to get in between them two. So I guess they really are close. So that was something to see, and we see that playing even more further in the episode, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then Walter and Sabrina are riding together, so that was really cute to see that. Sabrina puts him on the hot seat and asks him like, hey, so are we a couple or what? And he was like, and then it kind of cuts, so we don't know exactly what his response was, but then it cuts back to her saying, well, okay, well, I just don't want to offend anybody. And so she, presents securing herself, but then kind of outs that, hey, I was an exotic dancer for 10 years. This definitely catches Walter off guard and says that it's kind of a red flag. I'm curious about what, for him, why this is a red flag for him. He just, doesn't disclose that, which he doesn't have to. Speaking of hot seats, so in Cornelius and Camille and Zadia's ride, Zadia asks Cornelius about, I guess, are they going to move in together? Like, what's the plans after the show? Because in Camille's mind, they're married already. So she's answering the question for Cornelius, and he's like, well, we'll see. Time will tell, step by step, day by day, kind of thing. And Camille did not like that answer, but it is where it is. It is what it is. So she had an attitude about that. We see people who are arriving together, right? So attentions were like made clear. This is the action. This is where talk is kind of like fluff, right? I like you, but action says everything. Like Sydney and Frank arriving together. Dante and Aisha seem to have arrived together. Like Walter and Sabrina arrived together. It's like, it's interesting. Like it lets people know who's first, who's second, kind of thing. Naeem and Zadia have like this warm embrace where he like lifts her and kisses her. So, it's very sweet. Zadia talks about, how she's kind of torn. She has this connection with Dante. She has this connection with Naeem. And what am I going to do? I'm going to spend time with both of them to see how it works. And then the next frame we see is Dante and Aisha coming together. So, as this continues, Walter and Momine, connect after he arrives, and they have this cute little moment at the piano, which was endearing. I did not know Walter played, so this was refreshing to see. And they're singing this song that they wrote together, cute, cute, cute. And she's talking about like, hey, our connection is good, and there shouldn't be any harsh feelings on Sabrina's end, because she knows that Walter has a connection with me. And then we later see how that unfolds. That's all I'm going to say. So then once everybody comes in, Tommy announces, dun, 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 you guys are going to have to kick somebody off this week, which people are surprised, which I don't understand why people are surprised, but they're surprised. Maybe they thought because we're on a vacation, we get a week off for this whole, elimination every week thing, but you know what it is. So, Mumin and everybody's kind of settling in the house. Mumin is, I guess, kind of kikiing because also with the brown girls crew or whatever they're called, I don't know the name of the clique, but it's Camille, Zadia, and Mumin. So they're like having a moment, and then Cornelius is also like a part of it, which is another thing. Anyway. Mumin sees Walter sitting with Sabrina. So I thought it was odd that Mumin would see Walter and Sabrina connecting and she go over into their space. I thought the unspoken rule or that seemed to be in place, like if you see someone connecting with another person, like one of your people connecting with another person, that you just like keep moving and allow that to happen, and then when they want to interact with you, they can. But she like inserted herself, and Walter was definitely caught off guard. He was like visibly just like, what's happening here? But then Walter was also like playing the same ditty in melody that he was playing with Mumin, and I was like, interesting. I don't know if this is the only thing he knows how to play. I don't know, how well versed he is on the keys and whatnot. But I was just like, okay, that was interesting. But Mumin was definitely offended by Walter's shift in energy. But it's like, can you blame him though? Because he's what happened here? Why didn't you just like kind of walk in the other direction, keep it moving, and I'll come, I'll connect with you later. Like I connected with you earlier. Now I'm connecting with her. Like it's, I don't know. She was definitely offended. We see Sydney and Frank, flirting, and they're starting to have like this little pool party. And really, what I'm gonna call this pool party is like the temperature check, because that's what everybody seems to be doing. Like Sydney and Frank, hey, we're good, we good. And Frank's like, hey, I've been, really honest in front with you. My top two is you and Mumin. That's where my focus is. That's where it's gonna be. Boom. And he's just like, and so then it goes to Zadia and Naeem. And so, she's talking about how she started a little drama between Camille and Cornelius with asking about their plans after the show with their relationship. And Naeem cracks a joke about that. But then Zadia is checking in like, hey, so, what's happening? What's going on? But this is, I guess, my frustration with Naeem. She's seeking out like, hey, are we gonna be moving further in this relationship or what? And he gives like this vague reassurance. He's like, I like where we're going, and there's definitely a possibility. Like, those words mean I like hanging with you, and this could be something, but I'm not sure. That's what I hear. I don't know if that's what Zadia heard, but that's what I hear. So I feel like through these temperature checks, it's two things happening. The game is playing, the numbers game. Like, so, where some people have just like one person that they connect with. Some people are connected with like two people to make sure like when somebody gets voted off that there's like two people saying like, hey, I like this person, they're good, so that they don't get voted off. And then there's actual like, this could be something, we'll see. So like it's hard in these types of situations with games, and that's why I start off with that disclosure. Like I think when I first started reviewing this show, it's like, would I recommend falling in love on a show like this? Probably not, because there's already too many games that people play while dating. But then there's also just the idea that you're also playing a game, which we're going to see and talk about a little bit later too, as we talk about the drama. But so then Shiloh and Phil, she's like checking in, like Phil, you got a lot of connections. Phil is masterful game player in my opinion. Not saying he's a player like he's being dishonest. I'm saying he's like, I'm gonna make sure I make as many connections as possible so no one tries to vote me off. I'm gonna stay on the show. Like that's he wants to win. And so he's like, hey, he gives her like semi-firm, like he does a joke like, I'm not being serious with any of my people, which I mean is half true. And then he says, well, you know how I feel about you, which he has communicated to her, like, you're my top one. So so he has communicated that to her. So then Walter comes over to Mumin, who has like this kind of cold shoulder body language, kind of very passive aggressive stance of like, I'm mad at you, what you coming over here for, kind of thing. And so meanwhile, I had to chuckle because Sabrina in the pool is the definition of unbothered. Like, she's just in the pool. She's like, let me catch a tan with my sunglasses on. This is great. This is what a vacation is supposed to be. And Walter is like, hey, you have connections with other people. I even hear things, but I just don't take it in. I take it in for what it is. I don't let that bother me. Like, can you, as we say, match my energy? Can like you do the same? And she like then makes this accusation against Sabrina, or someone is manipulating you. And Walter's like cut off guard, like, say what now? He's trying to like, hey, I'm here with you. Like, what are we saying? I'm that's not what's happening. I'm just going through this. I'm going through this process, right? I'm mapping it out. And I don't know if Mumin is in a place where she's feeling unsettled because both of her people drove with other people. Walter rode with Sabrina. Sydney rode with Frank. Like, they arrived together and so she's had to drive by herself. But maybe so she's feeling some type of way about that. And she likes Walter better. And so that's what's happening within her. I don't know. I'm just speculating what could be like making Mumin show up in this way. But then she walks away before the issue is resolved, which, made me a little sad, just because I really feel like Walter was trying to work out the situation with her. But that also kind of made Walter say, well, okay, you walked away. Now that doesn't feel good because we're talking. So that was that with them. Dante and Aisha are showing us that they are feeling each other, flirting in the kitchen. She's assuring him that she puts down in the kitchen, and he's all in her face and this and that, and it's cute. It's a little cute. So we'll see. I feel like it's a lot of sexual energy, which is fine and is needed. It's just, are these real connections? Like, they're really surface. A lot of them seem very surface connections. So I don't know. And then timing also seems suspect. Like, last episode, Aisha didn't meet anybody's exes, and now all of a sudden her and Dante are like, just all this time I've been trying to get at you. And I'm like, Dante, have you really been trying to get at her? Because if you were trying, you would have had a date, right? I don't know. Maybe he had a situation in his family I don't know about that limited his time, but he had dates with other people. He was having group dates with her. So it's just confusing to me, the timing of this connection. But they seem to be having fun and liking each other. So onward. Okay. So our favorite couple, Cornelius and Camille, have a moment after the temperature check pool party. And Camille gifts Cornelius this necklace. Then she says, you know, we've been through a lot, ups and downs, and we both have wanted to walk away. And Cornelius was like, oh, even you have wanted to walk away. And I feel like he passively kind of checked her, like, oh, the runaway bride is wanting to walk away. Interesting. Like he's like making these notes. I don't know if he's gonna do anything about these notes, but he's making notes. And she says, you know, but God is with us, and no matter what, we can get through this. And he gives this necklace, and he does not seem like enthused about receiving this, which she kind of jokes about, like, oh, this girl gave me this necklace. And he's like, oh, no. But his face does not say no. And then she threatens him, but I need you to wear this every day. And then it cuts to the producer asking Cornelius, do you think that if Camille is controlling or not? And then he evades the question by saying, you're trying to get me in trouble. I'm like, everybody is trying to save Cornelius from Camille except for Cornelius. And I just want him to put his foot down. He's not going to do it. Okay. So, the dinner. Whew. The dinner date. All right. So the dinner date happens. Everybody comes together. Everybody's eating these wonderful victuals that have been prepared. And Camille checks Cornelius for sitting next to her. She's like, I want to see you. And I'm like, okay. And he moves. And I'm like, oh, okay. And everyone is like, Cornelius, just put your foot down about one thing. Can you put your foot down about one thing? You didn't get to date nobody else this whole time. Can you just put your foot down about one thing? No. Okay. And so Aisha brings up, like, hey, so how y'all feeling about these eliminations? It's about to be tight up in here. It's about to get real. And then the discussion starts, and Camille comes in to flex her muscles forcefully. It's to reassure Cornelius, well, no, somebody don't have to worry about that, with like all this attitude. And it was so unnecessary. And I guess I'll explain. So Dante, he states that, he sees this situation as very possessive, that Camille's possessive, and he calls it a situationship. I kind of agree with him with the situationship, because I feel it doesn't feel like Cornelius is consenting to this connection. But in a way he is. It's just he's not saying yes. He just feels like he has to say yes. And there's more on that. But Camille starts to poke at other people. Like, well, everybody's process is different. I ran a sprint. Everybody else is running a marathon. And, that's okay. I'll just see y'all at the reunion. And I'm like, what was that about? It just seemed so, it seemed like she was putting other people down. It seemed like she was trying to throw shade. I don't know, if she was talking and speaking up for her girls, like her fellow brown girl people, because she got Zadia and Mumin, and both of them are like seeing their people date other people and they don't like it. And so I'm like, I don't know if that's what's happening, but it was just really, it was not okay. And so from the Lady Lounge before, when Aisha, had a moment with Zadia, we see it again. So Aisha's like, enough of this. Enough of you not letting people do what they want to do. You're going to do that to Cornelius. He's okay with it. Hey, I'm not. So she spoke up for herself. Enough is enough. And, it was stated like, hey, what if Cornelius, gets on the bottom line, and then Camille like threatens violence, which is so bizarre to me, because the answer is, if you're really in it for Cornelius and he gets down to the bottom line, you could just say, then I'll just go home and I'll just have my relationship with Cornelius, because I don't want to connect with anybody else. Why does violence have to be the answer? I was so off put by that, and then I'm like, well, what is really the fear? So I'm like, is the fear that if the cameras are off, then are you no longer under the control of Cornelius? Like, he's more freedom to do what he wants to do? Is that a fear that you have? Like, what's happening with all this aggression coming, that you're going to threaten violence on other people? And I know it was just a saying, and she doesn't mean it, but it was, and at the same time, it was so uncalled for. And then so Zadia jumps up and to protect her friend and to stand up for her friend. And Aisha gets upset, and so Phil and Dante pull her off, and Cornelius is left at the table with the two ladies, and he's just uncomfortable. He's like, this is not okay. And they're laughing about this interaction as if this is okay, or it's something that they're okay with, and they think it's funny. And it made me really sad to see, like, adults, 30, 40-year-old adults interacting like this. So Dante has a little debriefing with Zadia, and he's trying to be jokey, mix up about it, but also kind of hold her accountable. Like he said, you were kind of jabby, you were hitting with the 1-2, you were poking the bear. And so Zadia sees this as him taking Aisha's side instead of holding her accountable. It's like, even if Dante, cause I don't think that Dante had fully made his decision in this situation. Maybe her behavior, definitely made him have a bigger pause, but he could, like, someone can still like you and hold you accountable. Just because he was holding you accountable doesn't mean, like, oh, so you chose an Aisha now because you're checking me about my behavior. And it's like, no. He said her behavior was escalating, and you see somebody, escalating, you can disengage. And she called him coach, so she was being very, she was offended by this language. She wasn't receiving it. She was being defensive. This is kind of how we see Zadia interact, unfortunately, in little spats and powwows with each other. So it wasn't Zadia's best moment, definitely, this episode. And then we see Phil, the consoler, the listening ear, coming to Aisha, which is interesting because I remember him saying, like, oh, she doesn't want to have children, so that's something that he, but also I see him again playing the game, like he's been there as a listening ear, so he could stay, on the show longer, right? So Dante, though, says, sorry, player, as he has a massage table ready for her, and he gives her a massage. It's very nice, and they are connecting, and then they tell the cameras it's time to turn off, so they do. And so then there's breakfast the next morning, and the ladies have their powwow. So the ladies have their powwow, and this is where, Nephew Tommy has to, like, shut it down, because immediately the moments are just, and he's like, okay, ladies, like, we're talking about love. So Sabrina's like, this trip has made me and Walter's connection stronger. Mamoon said, it's done the actual opposite for us. Dante comes up from Aisha, and Zadia's like, well, I'm not feeling him anymore because he held me accountable, and I don't like that. And I feel like he's choosing Aisha. So there we have it. Sydney is like Frankens Bay. Camille and Cornelius come up, and of course, you know, she does what she does. But then her past engagements come up. And so this is what I've noticed when the past engagements come up. And one thing I'm going to give Camille some kudos on, because I'm sure people feel like I don't like her. And I don't know her not to like her. I guess I'm concerned about her communication style and how she could choose. There's so many options she has, but she chooses other things. So the kudos I give her is that, hey, she's upfront. I was engaged 3 times. She could have really been dishonest about that. Like that's telling, and she knows that's telling, but she's being upfront about it. You get kudos for that. And at the same time, when she talks about her past engagements, though, she says, you know, I wasn't ready, but now I am. This feels so different. Okay. What did you learn about yourself in those past engagements? How do you know you weren't ready then and you are ready now? Like that, I don't know if she's put those pieces together. She may have. It's just not saying it because she's on TV and she doesn't want to. But I don't get the sense that she has, and that's just my opinion. Again, I'm basing my opinion off of limited information, so there's that. So Cornelius is at the bottom because everybody's like, he's not here for us. Okay. Everybody's saying Naeem is very surface, and that is true. Even, and that's something I think I've said for most of the reviews that I've done, that Naeem is just kind of reserved. He's just like kind of here. Even his ex said last week he can be kind of standoffish and won't open up about his feelings. He even did it with Sadia this episode, like, hey, how are we? Hey, possibilities are endless. Who knows? Infinity and beyond. I don't know, or maybe never. We'll see. You know, so it's just surface. And so they call the 2 of them together, and then there's suspense there. They don't tell us what happens. One thing I can say is Camille brings up God a lot, and I'm curious about that. I know that spirituality is important for both of them, and I know that people do utilize God as an influence, and on knowing if the person is the right person, like making sure they get confirmation and seeking and praying to make sure that they're connecting with the right person. So I feel like sometimes Camille brings up God to try to convince Cornelius to be in this relationship. And that part is a little concerning for me, but we'll see. I think if it was mutual, like if he also felt like, yes, I want to be in this relationship, and she did, then, you know, having like, yes, I feel like God is saying this is something that we should be doing right together. And this is why I'm feeling it, and this is why I'm feeling it, and then like praying and talking about it with each other. But again, Cornelius isn't 100% there, and he's really trying to console her as she's crying, to tell him whatever news we will find out next week. So stay tuned as we will keep steadfast with this season of Ready to Love, and have the next episode 10. And be sure to subscribe to my channel and the like, and I will see you guys next week. Take care.